Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to Wild Rift patch 4.1c. This is the official patch notes for this patch, and this will be the last patch as well before that big massive AD carry update that will be happening in patch 4.2. Normally I do YouTube shorts for these type of videos now, but because we didn't get a first look tweet on Friday because we're running through some technical errors, we're going to be looking in more detail in these patch notes. I'm going to let you all know my thoughts on these patch notes and all the changes that will be happening. But before we get into this, I just want to let you all know that Riot have given me some more skin codes to give away to you all, so you all have a chance to win a random skin chest. I will be giving away one in this video and some in the future videos, so make sure you keep an eye out for that one. So in this video, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. I'd love to get your thoughts on this patch notes in general, and also the upcoming patch that's going to be happening in patch 4.2. If you're excited for all the videos and all the AD carry changes that will be happening next patch, let me know down in the comments. Now that all that jibber jabbers out the way, let's take a look at what's coming up in patch 4.1c. We have the new promotion, the arcade promotion, more gacha. I don't think this gacha is as bad though as the previous ones, because as far as I'm aware from what I've been reading online, you can actually still buy these skins on the in the store, in the normal store. Before you couldn't buy these skins in the store, but apparently you still can. And the only thing that you can actually get from the gacha that's unique is the mythic version of the final boss of Vhagar skin. Now don't quote me on this, this is just what I've been reading online, but I think these skins like Arcade Ezreal, Battle Boss Brand, and Final Boss Vhagar, you can still get all of these from the store as far as I'm aware. But 400 wild calls, same as normal. You'll be able to purchase chests and you'll be able to obtain the following. I'm not too sure what the vouchers are going to give you. I don't know if the vouchers are going to be for the skins, or maybe there's some other things. Sometimes they do things like emotes, recall, and things like that, so maybe you'll be able to get things like that as well. Not really too sure, but yeah, there you go. New arcade promotion with the new arcade event as well, so some interesting things happening there. Now let's take a look at the champion changes. Now with these changes, they're not going to have the description as normal at the top, because they were going through some technical problems, but I'll let you know what my thoughts are on these changes. Right, Gwen as the first champion, the passive, the 1000 cuts, the bonus magic damage, and the ability power ratio is going from 0.006 to 0.005. There's like 0.001 difference in terms of passive. Not too sure why they changed this. I mean, this is a little bit of a nerf. I don't think the nerf is going to be that noticeable, to be honest with you. I mean, 0.01% is not a lot, but it's still a nerf. Nerf is a nerf either way, even if it is 0.01%. But the cool thing is the skip and slash, the cooldown of the third ability, has actually gone down by 3 seconds at early levels. So it's gone down by 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and then nothing in the later stages of the game, which, to be fair, 9 seconds in the late game is totally fine, because with this passive, when you auto attack a champion after you use the ability, then the cooldown gets cut in half. So it actually can be very, very helpful during laner phase, because now it only has a 13.5 second cooldown in the early stages of the game. Say for example, if you dash and then auto attack, it could be on like a 6 second cooldown in the early game, because you basically can half it by maybe 12 seconds, because by the time you dash and maybe auto attack, maybe it goes down by a second. So 12 seconds, you cut that in half, 6 second cooldown in the early game. I think it's going to be really, really good for Gwen, make her a little bit more mobile during the laning phase. This might also help her a little bit in the jungle as well, being able to dash more often, because the only thing is that you don't get the passive half the cooldown in the jungle anymore when you're hitting jungle monsters. So this being on a 3 second lower cooldown means that you can clear the jungle probably a little bit quicker. So a really nice change for Gwen. Obviously this is kind of an adjustment overall, but I think it's overall a buff, because you know, 0.01% is basically nothing, and the cooldown of the third ability going up going down by 3 seconds is pretty damn big. I think that's a really, really big change for Gwen. That's going to help her out a lot, especially in laning phase. Kennen is getting a little bit of a buff to the second ability. So passive bonus magic damage at the moment is a flat amount, which is getting increased by 10 every single rank. It then scales with bonus with attack damage, not bonus attack damage. It scales with attack damage, which is staying the same, and it also scales with ability power, and the ability power is going up. So they're giving Kennen a little bit more power on the second ability, again with the base damage and also with the ability power ratio. So keeping the AD ratios the same, and then increasing the AP ratio ever so slightly. I think Kennen's in a pretty interesting position. I don't think Kennen is that good. Obviously, Kennen can be really good during team fights, but I think Kennen struggles quite a lot during the laning phase, especially against most of these bruisers, because of how strong the items like Divine Sunder are, Black Cleaver, Hullbreaker as well. Hullbreaker is such a meta item at the moment, and Kennen as a champion just struggles against them sort of champions. So nice that Kennen gets a little bit of a buff, to be honest with you. This is the passive bonus damage, so I believe it is the passive. I don't think this is when you use the ability. This is the just the normal passive bonus damage that you get from the ability. So yeah, overall buff to Kennen. I don't think this will do too much. I think it going up by 10 passive damage is like, okay, maybe it help Kennen in the early game bully a little bit more, which will be quite interesting. Maybe he'll be able to, you know, bully out a few champions in the early game. But other than that, I still think Kennen is going to struggle a little bit. I think Kennen's okay. Like I said, Kennen can work, but not as good. This is these 3 champion changes. My God, these mage changes, by the way, I do not agree with them. I do not agree with any of these mage changes at all. Probably the only one that I agree with is maybe Orianna, maybe a bit of Seraphine. But this Lux change, my God. The barrier now, the second ability, is on an 8-second cooldown in the late game. This is going to buff support Lux a hell of a lot. I mean, not only support Lux, but also duo carry Lux in the bot lane. Obviously, in pro play, mages are very, very strong at the moment in the bot lane. You see Orianna sometimes, you see Ziggs, you see Karma, you see Zoe down in the duo lane. This buff to Lux is actually disgusting. 8-second cooldown in the late game on your second ability, and 2-second cooldown, basically 2-second cooldown reduction buff across the board in the early game and also in the late game. Now, one item that combos really, really well and synergizes really, really well with Lux's second ability is the Protecting Charm. Now, you having Protecting Charm and you being able to get this ability on an 8-second cooldown. I mean, obviously in the later stages of the game, when you have your support item fully upgraded, every single time you get a takedown, you'll be able to reduce the cooldown of your active item. So you could possibly be using the Protecting Charm with your second ability 2 or 3 times during an entire team fight, which, by the way, like I said, it is completely busted how strong Protecting Charm plus the barrier plus the second ability is on Lux. Absolutely insane. I think this buff is going to help support Lux a lot in solo queue as well, because like I said, this cooldown going down, this is normally the ability that you max first as well. So you're going to have an 8-second cooldown on this ability at level 6, level 7. Absolutely absurd. I think this change is absolutely crazy. I have no idea what they're thinking. I think Lux was already okay, but this is just absolutely insane. I think I'm definitely going to try out support Lux in this next patch with the with this little bit of a buff. Orianna as well, I think, is getting an absolute huge buff. Obviously the base armor's going down, which doesn't mean too much. I mean, Orianna can struggle a little bit with the you know, against like AD assassins and AD bruisers a little bit, because she can just get dove on. But the most important thing with Orianna is you just have to time your shield correctly, and you also have to make sure the ball is on her as well, because when the ball is on her, she also gains defenses and she gains some extra stats. So making sure that your ball is on yourself is now more important than before when trading against enemy champions. Base armor's gone down by a little bit. Like I said, don't think it means too much. These 2 buffs are absolutely insane. First, command attack, the first ability, the base damage is going up by 10 at every single rank, and also the ability power is going up by 5%. And if you thought that was good, the command dissonance, which is the big massive AoE slow that you get on your second ability, that's also going up by 10 damage at every single rank, and also going up by 5% ability power. This combo you can spam in the late game. You could spam command attack and command dissonance. You could just go Q, W, or first ability, second ability. Bring your ball back with your third ability, first ability, second ability. You can keep spamming and spamming this over and over again, especially with Orianna's build. You go Luna's Echo, you go Archangel Staff, which means you're going to have infinite mana. You can spam this over and over again. Her wave clear is now going to be stronger. Her poke damage is now going to be stronger. Her ultimate is already strong as well during team fights. I honestly think Orianna is going to be a very, very strong pick again in competitive down in the duo lane, but also probably as a mid lane now, because like I said, you have stronger wave clear now with these items. Now the thing is with Orianna is she is a very late game champion. Her early game damage is not that great. As I mentioned before, you normally go Archangel Staff and Luna's Echo, so it's not the biggest power spike early on, but I still think that Orianna is going to be very, very strong in this patch with these buffs and with these changes. As I said, the base armor going down is a bit of a hit, but it just means that it's more important now to keep the ball on yourself rather than keeping the ball out there for no apparent reason, because obviously you protecting yourself from a dive or from an enemy champion jumping onto you with the ball being on yourself, like I said, is very, very important. Seraphine change. Okay, the pictures up here, but the changes are down here. This is again a very interesting one. I think this is going to be quite nice for Seraphine. The second ability, surround sound, the heal per ally. Now the important thing to note that the only way you get the heal on Seraphine is if you use the empowered version of her second ability. Now the empowered version of her second ability also gives her a double shield now, and also gives her allies a double shield. This has been used quite recently with Protect Enchant. It has been very, very strong currently in the current meta, but it healed per ally and also you know, times their missing health. So the ability power ratio is going oh no, so this is the base percentage. So heal per ally, there's a percentage plus a percentage of ability power. So it seems like it's just the base value itself that's going up. So it's going from 5% to 6.5%, plus obviously 0.01% of your ability power, and then you times that by your missing health. So this is basically the healing, so you get like 6.5% healing basically now instead of 5%. So the healing has gone up by a bit. Like I said, pretty nice change for Seraphine, especially because her empowered second ability is now being used more often because of Seraphine's shielding being able to be double now instead of just one shield with the empowered W. If this was just previous to the bug fix that Seraphine had with the double shielding, then I don't think it'd be that good. But I think with this and the double shielding, I think it can be very, very strong. And also the big drop, the third ability, the damage hasn't been increased in the early game, but in the late game it's getting increased by 15 damage, so giving Seraphine a little bit more power with her ability. I think this ability is quite strong in the early game because you can get the early game route. I think in the late game, most of the time you don't use the empowered version of this ability. You either use empowered W for the AoE shield and AoE healing, or use the empowered first ability because it gives you more damage output. I'm curious if people are going to use this ability now as more of a damage output with these changes, with these base AP changes, but I still think the first ability is going to be the stronger because it, you know, doubling up on the first ability, the amount of damage that you deal is very, very strong. But obviously this helps quite a bit with your either your stun or your root, depending if you use your ultimate beforehand or not. So again, really, really strong changes in terms of the AP mages. Might change up the AP meta ever so slightly. I'm not too sure if Lux mid lane or Seraphine mid lane will still be a thing. This is a buff to support Lux. This is the buff to support Seraphine. This won't really do much to mid lane Seraphine. So I don't think nothing changes in terms of mid lane of these champions, except for Orianna, obviously, but Seraphine and Lux, not too much. Answer a few other changes. Sion, the second ability, the cooldown is going down by 1 second every single rank, and the recast time is now at 2 seconds. Recast time is really, really nice because this will help you a lot when trying to deal damage with this ability now, because most of the time with this ability what happens is that you use the ability, you have to wait for a little bit, and obviously you're tanking up a little bit of the damage, and then you have to wait 3 seconds to be able to recast it to either clear the minion wave or to deal damage to enemy champions. So a very classic combo that you do with Sion is use your second ability, use your first ability to try and clear the wave, and then you use your second ability afterwards. You normally have to wait a little bit at the moment moment for the recost time of your second ability after you use your first ability to clear the minion wave. But with this going down by 1 second, I don't think you have to wait anymore. You just use your first ability, use your second ability, and pretty much clear the entire wave. As I said, you can use this on enemy champions now as well. So it being on a 2-second recost time is nice. And also the cooldown going down by 1 second is also pretty nice. So overall, a pretty nice buff for Sion. Means that he can train more in the laning phase, which is going to be pretty good for him. Thresh is also getting a well, I was going to say also getting a buff. Thresh is actually getting a nerf to Flay, the third ability. So the passive bonus magic damage at the moment is souls collected times 2 plus a percentage of your attack damage. So it's still souls collected times 2, but now the percentage of your attack damage is going down. So this is just more the thing is with Thresh is that he has a lot of power in this ability. This is mainly to do with the auto attacks. The passive bonus magic damage that you get is from your auto attacks with Thresh. This is why it's really annoying for Thresh at the moment during the laning phase. I've been playing against Thresh a few times and it's actually really annoying to deal with. Because in the early game, he could just proc for Aftershock with his Flay, doing the same amount of bonus magic damage with his auto attacks, and then he's just insanely strong. So this going down by like 20% in the early game is pretty big, and then in the later stages of the game, like 35%, which is also pretty big. And again, it depends on how much souls you collected, times that by 2, and then obviously you plus a percentage of your AD. Maybe AD Thresh was strong. I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait until the description comes out to get their thoughts. But I think this is mainly to do with early game Thresh and how powerful he is in support. Because like I said, this passive bonus magic damage that you get, which you don't get the passive magic damage all the time. I think it's when you're out of combat for a little while, if I remember correctly, then your next auto attack deals passive bonus damage and is quite strong. Like I said, it's so strong in laning phase. You always win level 1 trades with Thresh. It's just very, very strong. So yeah, nerfing that down a little bit. This will make Thresh's early game not as strong as before, but again, I still think he'll be fine as a champion. And hey, look, Veigar's getting buffed. Who would have thought? Veigar's getting a buff. Veigar's getting a skin, a mythic skin. I wonder where that's come from. The Primordial Burst, the ultimate. The minimum magic damage has gone up by quite a bit in the early game. 15 damage, 10 damage, and then 5 damage. So the burst damage in the late game is not going to be, you know, as much, but I think the main thing about your ultimate in the late stages of the game is that you already have enough stacks of your passive anyway, so you'll get a lot more AP from your passive, which means that you don't really need the minimum magic damage in the later stages of the game. But it's quite nice that they're giving Veigar a little bit more power in the early game. It means that he might have a little bit more one-shot potential in the early stages of the game, which is quite nice. Cooldown also going down by 10 seconds at every single rank. This is also pretty big. I mean, if I remember correctly, Veigar has been getting quite a few buffs, like buff after buff after buff. And, you know, they buffed the cage, they buffed the first ability, if I remember. Now they're buffing the ultimate. So Veigar has been getting a lot of buffs recently. Obviously, with the new mythic skin, I'm definitely going to be trying out Veigar and giving this buff a try. Really excited to try out the mythic skin, the exclusive mythic skin on Wild Rift. So yeah, going to try and get that through the chests and also give Veigar a try in game. This is a change I do not agree with. This is the most ridiculous change I think I've seen in patch history. Ziggs at the moment is insanely strong. Okay, so I'm talking this from a perspective of pro play. Now in solo queue, Ziggs is probably not that strong. Ziggs is kind of like Varus in a way, where Varus was not very strong in solo queue, but very strong in competitive, so they had to buff Varus, but be careful because of how pro play is. I think this is the same, because obviously Ziggs at the moment doesn't get played in the dual lane at all in solo queue. I mean, if you pick Ziggs dual lane, then you'll probably get trolls on your team because they don't understand the concept of playing mages in the dual lane. I think a lot of people don't understand it at all. But yeah, this buff is, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're buffing Ziggs by 10 magic damage or 10 base magic damage as well at every single rank on his first ability. His first ability is already strong. It already does so much with the Luna's Echo, with Death Cap, with all these items. This champion still does a lot of damage with his first ability. So I have no idea why they're buffing Ziggs at all. I think this is absolutely insane. Now, obviously, they're nerfing the satchel charge, the demolish threshold. They're nerfing it by 5% every single rank. Cool. This is pretty good. It means that players maybe can't take towers as quickly, but that's not the main strength of Ziggs. The main strength of Ziggs is being able to spam abilities, being able to just throw your bouncing bombs over and over and over again. You throw out your third ability, you throw down your ultimate, boom, everyone is one shot, everyone is dead. This champion does insane amount of damage. I mean, every single time you see a Ziggs, whether it be pro play or solo queue, the champion always does the most damage because this champion is so strong. Like, this champion does the insane amount of damage. You do not need to buff his damage numbers. I'm telling you that for a fact. Like, you know, this is a big no for me. Big no. I don't like this change at all. Yeah, it's a big no. And the Searing Crown, they're nerfing the magic damage a little bit. Searing Crown's an interesting one. Searing Crown has definitely given a lot of champions a lot more damage, especially champions like Nunu has been doing really well with Searing Crown recently. Even in pro play, they were building Searing Crown on champions like Gragas support, Galio support, and all these support champions, and also even Wukong as well was being built with Searing Crown. So just nerfing the magic damage ratio ever so slightly by 0.2%. I still think the item will be fine on most champions, but again, they're just nerfing the damage numbers ever so slightly. And then you have a few skins as well. These will be released 11th of May, so when this patch is out, which is tomorrow. And yeah, we're going to try out the Veigar skin, the Mythic Veigar skin. Arcade Ezreal is going to be really cool as well. This is one of the best Ezreal skins, in my opinion. And Brand is also pretty cool as well, so definitely try him out. You can see some accessories here as well, with some of the icons, a little Ezreal icon, a little game controller as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and then you have your free champion rotations at the bottom. So that's everything for patch 4.1c. As I mentioned, this is the last patch of the 4.1 cycle. The next patch is in 2 weeks time, which is patch 4.2. You know, we're going to be doing a breakdown of the huge massive patch notes going to be happening in 4.2. New items, item changes, AD carry changes, more importantly, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, if you got this far in the video, thank you all very much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down the video. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the video as well, because I will be giving a skin. I will be showing and giving away the skins at the end of the month. I will be doing probably 3 or 4 videos on YouTube, so make sure you keep an eye out for that one. But as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate it. I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video, which will be on patch 4.1c. So I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Peace.